Hello everybody, Gisele Grenier here. In today's video lesson I've been given sort of two challenges. One challenge was to use paints that aren't part of my limited palette, and the other challenge was actually asked by a new student that she's now come into my realm of using a limited palette. So she has all these colors that she doesn't know what to do with because they were totally confusing to her. And I said, you know what, as long as you know how to read the color, you can use those paints into your painting. That doesn't mean you have to throw them away. So I'm going to be using colors specifically that she asked me to do something with, and the challenge for Joe that gave me was to use something outside of my limited palette. So I've got all these paints here. They're not part of my limited palette. So I picked out these colors, and what I have is primary yellow, green gold, and cobalt turquoise hue. So falling off my chair. So if you go, I've got blog posts and I have my 7-day color mixing course and challenge, but how to read color and on all the courses and that. Basically, the color can only go two ways in the color wheel. So if you have a yellow can either lean towards orange or can lean towards green. And then a green can either lean towards yellow or can lean towards blue. And a blue can either lean towards violet or lean towards green. Okay, so finding out where they lean on the color wheel. So we have the primary yellow, and the pigments in primary yellow is PY3, PY73, and PW6, while PY3 is Hansa Yellow Light. And then green gold is PY151, PG36, and PY3, two yellows, and Phthalo Green Yellow. But it also has PY3, so the same yellow that's in this is in this one. Then cobalt turquoise hue, although it has PB36, PG7, which is a phthalo green, but it's phthalo green on the blue side, PBK7, which is black, and PW6, which is white. I know for a fact that this green leans more towards green. First of all, knowing that there's phthalo green in it leans towards green. So these all work together. And these are the primary colors. Not saying primary colors, primary color wheel, but you've got this yellow and you've got that green. And so just by knowing where the colors shift on the color wheel, it's easier to understand how to make the colors cohesive. So this yellow leans towards green. This green, knowing what's in here, also is more green that leans towards yellow. And this color here is a blue that leans towards green. So they all sit in the same area on the color wheel, so they'll work together naturally. Okay, so I put them out here, and we're going to work with some gesso. So the basic technique is just going to be a simple scumble. We're just going to scumble and do a bit of dry brushing, and it's a background that can be used for anything, and I mean anything. Still life, anything, and I'm drawing a blank. Still life, painting studies, artist trading cards, mixed media, anything. Okay, so we're going to first use I'm going to use the Decor Media white gesso to prime the paper. Then I'm going to use these fluid acrylics to create a scumble. So I've got the card here, and I'm just going to use a damp brush, and I'm just going to paint a light layer. Get a bit more water there. A light layer, and this is 140-pound watercolor paper. It's nice and stiff, works really well, and you know what, this is new, well, I don't know if it's new. It's my first time using it. It's Strathmore Vision watercolor paper, and this stuff is nice, thick sheets, and you know what, it was not expensive. Up here in Canada, everything, oh, my Band-Aid's coming off. Everything costs more up here, so I got that at Curry's down in the city, and when Joe saw it, he goes, "Look at this!" I went, "Oh, okay." So I gotta try that, because typically I use a Strathmore visual journal for my book of backgrounds, but this time I'm not, because those journals are bound, and I didn't want them bound, and we're also only working single-sided, because a lot of the book of backgrounds I'm going to be doing, I'm giving them away. Cutting them up, giving little pieces to people, to you guys to create stuff on them. There's, and what I'll usually do is randomly pick somebody who's commented and just pick that person, or Joe will I'll say, "Joe, give me a number." I'll count the number of comments. I'll say, "Give me a number from 1 to whatever." He'll give me a number, and I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then pick that person. So just to see what you guys can create. So that's going to go in water. And magic video, I have one already created. I don't like using a heat gun so much with gesso. Well, first of all, because it's a sealer, so if it's thick and if you heat the top part, underneath it's not going to dry. Now, I don't know if you won't be able to see it. Oh, there we go. A little bit of texture there. There's a little bit of a bumpy there. So if you want to create something really smooth, you can also sand this. So to scumble, I like scumbling with bristle brushes, and I mean you can get flats, you can get filbert style. And so for this one here, what I want to do is I want to paint the whole thing yellow first. So I'll just use trusty number 8 Bristle Bright. Go right into the paint and put that on. So with this one here, see this part here? That's dry brushing. The idea is to load your brush with paint, remove the excess, and then put it on. But I wanted to get a base in here first because because these paints are more transparent, you'll be able to glaze as well to get some layers. You don't have to really cover everything. I'm looking at the monitor, that looks green. Okay, and then you can take a baby wipe if you want and just get some texture in here. Just remove some parts if you wanted to. You don't have to, but the paint that goes on here will just look a little bit different. Okay, see that? So now this has to dry. Let me just quickly, there's a bet going on how long this sheet of freezer paper is going to last on my palette. It's already starting to break down. Oh, I'm going to sneeze. Okay, so I'm going to put that in water. I'm going to get my heat gun and dry this. All right, so we have some nice texture in there. I mean, you can use this as is. So now let's take just show you how to scumble. This is an old stencil brush, which is actually, ooh. That's because it sat in water too long. So let's not use that. Let's just stick with the same brush. So I'm going to take the green gold now. So I'm loading the brush and then I'm going to tap outside. Dry brushing with fluid acrylics is hard. You know why it's hard? Because the paints are fluid. Okay. Figure out what side you want to start on. I want to, the part that I wiped off a lot of the paint, that's going to be at the top or on the side. And you're just going to lightly, you can either circle or you can pounce. Now this paint here, let me think. Yeah, this is transparent because it's primarily focusing on the yellow. There we go. It's really transparent. So instead of doing it this way, I'm going to do it this way. So you can pounce, 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 and what you're going to get is a very airy look to it. So think of a background for a landscape. You can create really anything with this. This is tedious. So as you start at the bottom, see now this is too much paint. What can we do with that? Take a paper towel. Ooh, I like that. See how wet that was? You basically just start all over again. This is tedious and you want to have to remove as much paint as you can. Then come in and you can go round and round. That's going to have to dry before I can fix that. And when you're dry brushing, ideally what you want to do is you want to go as high as you can until you run out of paint. And then you reload and start from the bottom and you work your way up again. Yeah, hang on, let me just dry this for a sec. You notice it also gets darker. It also gets darker. There we go. So, and as you apply your second layer, then you'll work that up as high as you can. Then you can go for the first layer as high as you can, then the second layer you can go a little bit lower, third layer a little bit lower. And what's happening is that you're getting light and then you're getting it going dark as you work your way down. And the nice thing with this is that you can work with multiple colors with this, multiple colors, multiple layers, but especially with multiple layers, if the colors are transparent, that's where you do need to know about a little bit of color theory. You need to know where the colors, you know, they'll go together. Like ideally, if you were to glaze a red over a green, you know what would happen, right? So just by creating this nice look, I mean, you can even do this with a paper towel, but this particular technique I want to show you with a brush. So we're going as high as we can. Oh, my arm's already sore. Then we can take some more green and then we can start at the bottom and go again. A little bit thicker if you want. This is a stippling. Pouncing is another word you can use. You can see this looks like a series of bushes. And then the circle stroke, the same thing, you can just do it like this. The circle stroke this way here, I like using it when you're looking for more of a gradation. You can see the different effect. A gradation, as well as if you're using a paper that's been really textured with a lot of gesso, you can really get some nice effects there because the gesso will grab the paint on the hard edges. If your paint is tacky, you can't do this because you're just going to pull up. But look at the difference between the gradation or the nice circle strokes versus the pouncing. And then you can basically rinse your brush just to get it clean there. And you can repeat the same thing now with another color. So this color here, this has white, so it's going to be more opaque. So looking at this, we can add a little bit of water to the brush just to help it flow. You could make something with the sky with this too. And then you can just come in, and I wouldn't make this too high, but see how it's just making the bottom part even greener, because we know what happens when you get yellow and blue, right? And then you can make this as high as you want. You can also circle, circle, circle to get a gradation as well, or a nice smooth look as well. Just make sure the underlying layer is dry. I can go in here and I can blend that together. This is dry brushing. My arm is tired. Oh. And if you had paint, if you had ridges, you can create nice little texture lines. So I'm just loading it and then working the side of the brush. Oh, that is really nice. The color scheme is not one of my favorites. I'm not a big fan of this type of color scheme. Doesn't mean it's wrong, but depends. I like kind of more the modern colors. But you can take your baby wipe and you can also take some parts and just remove some of the paint. Even this one here, I can remove some of that. Remove some of that, and then you're gonna have to come back, dry it, and then you can basically do it again. But ideally, if you can leave it, that's the best thing to do. Make sure it's dry though. So that's it. So that's just a very simple background using a dry brush and pouncing technique. And that, my friends, can be used for anything. Just think of this cut up into smaller cards. You know, artist reading cards, a journal page, an apple still life in here, a painting study, a postcard. Cut that there, postcard, bookmark, cut that there. So you can do so many different things with this. So all that's left to do now is basically let it dry. And I mean, if you want to, you can put a layer of matte medium on it just to basically protect it and then go from there. Matte medium is not really necessary though. All right, so my challenge to you is I'd like to see you create a background by using 3 colors that you don't usually use, just by seeing how they sit on the color wheel. So go into your arsenal, find 3 colors that are related to each other somehow, and create a dry brush or a stipple technique little background like this. Don't need anything too big, something small. And then what I'd like you to do is, first of all, comment below. You know, let me know if you've tried it or if you've had any trouble. Hop on over to the private Facebook group and then post a picture there, and just to show us what you've done. If you don't want to create a background, just comment below. You know, if there was any takeaway from this project or something that you had an aha moment, or if you're struggling with something, let me know, and I'll be sure to give you a hand. Alrighty, so as usual, in closing, give me a thumbs up if you found this informative, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss anything. But even better is to hop on over to artplace.ca and to subscribe to the Creative Insider weekly email that I send out, which contains the free live streams that I do and some free tutorials and all that good stuff. Alrighty, yeah, I think it's time to stop for the day. I'm brain dead right now. I got stipple on the brain. Alrighty, you guys, so I will let you go. I'm gonna clean up, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Until then, stay inspired.